Hi, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. So let's just jump into talking about July releases right away. There are quite a few of them and I only have one pre-order campaign. So we will start with that one coming out on July 2nd. We have one that I've actually already read, so I can recommend pre-ordering it. It is The Undermining of Twilight and Frank by Megan Bannon. This is the sequel to The Undertaking of Hearted Mercy, which I liked but didn't love, and I think a lot of people felt that way, but I'm pretty confident that there's potential for you to like the sequel more, especially if you find our reading tastes align, or if you are a Friends to Lovers fan. This is like best friends to lovers in the best way. It's Harry Met Sally with dragons. So I don't think I need to pitch it to you anymore. It is so good. What I also love about it is that both Twilight and Frank are in their 40s or 50s. They're middle-aged characters. They have been friends for a long time. They met as neighbors. They were both married. Her husband passes away and he gets divorced, and they remain friends for a long time. But throughout the course of the book, they start to realize that maybe there are deeper feelings there, but they are both kind of soldiers in this world, and they come across a dragon who is a baby and is really sweet, but they didn't realize that dragons existed anymore, and they're trying to keep it a secret. They're trying to figure out what to do, how to protect the dragon, how to protect the community, while also dealing with their feelings for one another. Somebody else coming to the picture that might be interested in Twilight having some family stuff with her kids going on, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's cozy, it's sweet, it's romantic, and it has dragons, and I thought it was fantastic. I actually listened to the audiobook thanks to Libro FM, so if you can get your hands on the audiobook, I do recommend it. I thought it was great, so I'm really excited that that one is coming up very, very soon to see what everybody else thinks about it. Now, if you pre-order this one from either a romance bookstore or the Rainy Day bookstore, you will get a signed book, a bookmark, and 2 stickers, one for this book and one for book 1. So I think that's really sweet. I will leave a link to that down below, and I just love these covers so much. It's just such a great series. Next is a book with another stunning cover, and this is Masquerade by O.O. Sangoyomi, and the tagline for this one says, "Her rise to fortune paid in blood," so that alone is intriguing. It's actually set in like a reimagined version of 15th century West Africa, which I think is fantastic, and it says that it is a lyrical tale exploring the true cost of one woman's fight for freedom and self-discovery and the lengths she'll go to secure her future. So our main character has been shunned. She is living in poor conditions with other women in this blacksmith's guild when she is then kidnapped by somebody she met a few days earlier, and she's taken to the capital, and she realizes that this is like a warrior king, and she is set to marry him. So now she's like swept up in this life of riches, but she realizes that the king is violent, not somebody she wants to marry. So she has to navigate this new world, maybe make some loyalties within the court, and figure out her true destiny. And it says that it takes you on a journey of epic power struggles and political intrigue that turn an entire region on its head. What I've been excited for quite a while now is The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song, and the tagline for this one says, "Raised to obey, destined to rebel." This one's actually loosely inspired by Mulan, and it says that it follows a young woman determined to choose her own destiny, even if that means going against everyone she loves. Our main character's father refuses to answer to his imperial draft, and he's deep in an opium addiction, and he wants to sell her in order to get a dowry. So she then decides to disguise herself as a boy and enlist in her father's place. She begins to make alliances and form friendships, especially with somebody named Sky, who happens to be her training partner, and a secret prince. So that is interesting. But then she starts to have dreams of this kind of sea dragon. There's an enemy prince involved who is infuriating, but obviously there's an attraction there. And she's wondering if she escaped one prison to come to another, and it all unfolds from there. So I've heard the good things about this one. Again, it's one I've been excited for. Liz Moore is an author that I know a lot of people love, and I always put her books on my TBR. I don't read a ton of thrillers or mysteries these days, but something about her books always intrigues me. So this one I always want to have my eye on, and I'll be waiting for reviews, but it's called The God of the Woods. And I think what gets me about this one is I'm always intrigued by anything set at a summer camp. So this is actually set at a summer camp in August of 1975, so we have a historical element to this one, and it opens up with a camp counselor discovering that somebody's not in their bunk and this girl has gone missing, and she just happens to be the daughter of the people who run this summer camp and employ a lot of the community. And it's not the first time one of their children has gone missing. Their son disappeared many years earlier, so as the search goes on, we uncover secrets about the family and about the community. And again, this is an author I've heard good things about. Summer camp, definitely curious. So if you read that one, let me know. I want to read your review because it's one I'm going to keep an eye on. And the last book I have for July 2nd is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the sequel to Powerless, so if you read Powerless, I'm sure you've been waiting for this one. I have mixed feelings about Powerless, but I'm intrigued enough to probably continue with this series. Truly, when people say this is the Hunger Games meets the Red Queen, that's what this is. It is fantasy romance. I'm sure you've heard about the first one everywhere, but just so you know, the sequel does come out in July. Moving on to July 9th, we have a romance, and this one is called Let the Games Begin by Rafaro Faith Mazarura, and this is a debut, so I'm excited about that. So it's actually set in Athens in 2024, so it's present day, and we're following these two characters. She is just graduating from university. She wants to work for the summer games, but she takes this internship, and then he is a star athlete. He wants to set some records for being the fastest runner, and he's just had a very public breakup with a famous gymnast, and he doesn't want that to be a distraction for him. Our two characters meet on the first day, sparks fly. There you have it. Sounds like a fun romance to me. Perfect for this time of year, especially with the Olympics happening. Another one I've read is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is up there as one of my favorite books of the year, just so you know. If you're a cozy fan, you have to read it. I think some people who have read it, who like cozy, think it's maybe too cozy, but you can't get too cozy for me. So I adored it, and I already love Sarah Beth Durst. This is cottagecore fantasy, I would say, and it follows a character who is working at a library in the capital city. There's a revolution. She grabs as many books as she can. She gets on a boat with her sentient spider plant named Kaz, who is definitely the best character in the book. They flee to the island where she's from. She finds that her family cottage is still unoccupied. She lost her parents years before, and she moves back in there and just starts to remember her childhood and the people from her past, including a neighbor whom she may or may not have a romance with. And she is starting to learn magic, and this island has suffered in the time that she's been away, and she's doing little things to help out without people knowing, while also selling jam. So there you go. It is so cute. There are lots of great creatures in this. You can see on the cover there's a flying cat. That is definitely a creature in this world. I ate this up. I will be rereading it when it comes out. I bet you it's fantastic on audio. I cannot wait. I just love this book. On July 16th, the first one is Girls Who Burn by M.K. Pagano, and this looks like it is a YA thriller, which you know I can get behind, and it is apparently enemies to lovers as well, so you get a good romance in this one. Our heroine in this case, her sister falls off the edge of a cliff and into a ravine, and it is deemed an accident, but her sister was a trained ballerina, very good balance obviously, and she just does not believe that her sister would have fallen on her own. She thinks that she was pushed, and she does have a suspect, and it is the boy who lives down the street, who has always had a thing for her sister and this fascination with her, and she kind of teams up with this guy's cousin, and I think they're the two that have a romance because he doesn't believe that his cousin is guilty. And then his cousin is actually found in the same place, dead. So obviously he wasn't the one that did it. And they start to uncover some secrets about the community that they're a part of, and they have a romance. So it'll be interesting to see how those two things are balanced. So I'm curious about that one for sure. Stephen Graham Jones has a new book coming out, which I know is so exciting. And this one sounds like it's a perfect teen slasher, which I love in the summertime. And it's actually called I Was a Teen Slasher. So perfect, perfect, perfect. Cannot wait. It says it's a classic slasher story with a twist. It's set in 1989, which I mean just happens to be the year I was born, so now you can do the math and see how old I am. And it's set in Texas. It says a small West Texas town driven by oil and cotton, and a place where everyone knows everyone else's business. So it goes for Tolly Driver, a good kid with more potential than application, 17, and about to be cursed to kill for revenge. Here, Stephen Graham Jones explores the Texas he grew up in, the unfairness of being on the outside through the slasher horror he lives but from the perspective of the killer, Tolly, writing his own autobiography. Find yourself rooting for a killer in this summer teen movie of a novel gone full blood-curdling tragic. That sounds amazing. I'm so intrigued to see how he pulls that one off. The autobiography part of it is so unique to me, so I am here for it, down 100%, gonna read that. One of my favorite romances of last year was Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, and I know a lot of people also love that one. I saw it on a lot of best books of the year lists. So she has another romance coming out, and it's called Not Another Love Song, and I actually have an e-arc of this one that I hope to get to before release date because people have been raving about this, and I love any book that has music in it. I know that's not for everybody, but I really love it, and especially if it's a romance. It says 2 string players fight their attraction for each other as they compete for center stage in this spicy and emotional romance. I love a competition as well, so many buzzwords just in those 2 lines. It follows Gwen and Xander, and they both are part of this orchestra. She performs for a wedding where he is at, and she's mortified because he doesn't even recognize her, even though they've been part of this orchestra together for a year. But then she's given first chair of this orchestra, which is something he's always coveted, so obviously he is furious, and they have a rivals to lovers romance. I just love everything about that. And then we have another romance from an author who I think wrote a romance last year that a lot of people adored. I just never got to, but this one is called The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. It says estranged exes must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters in this swoony and steamy second chance romance. Oh yeah, she wrote You with a View. I can picture that cover. So a wedding, love that. Rivals, exes, second chance romance, love all those buzzwords. I'm here for it. So our main characters are Georgia and Eli, and they were together but broke up, but kept their mutual friends. They have a mutual friend named Adam who's getting married, and they happen to be the best woman and the best man in his wedding, and everything kind of falls apart when the wedding venue burns down, so they all have to come together to save the wedding, and obviously this will rekindle their romance. And as I always say, the thing I like about romances set around weddings is that you tend to get a lot of external conflict and drama and silly things, and I just always love that, and that seems to definitely be the case for this book. Mary McMine, who I believe wrote the Book of Gothel, has a new book coming out, and I love the title of this one. It's called A Rose by Any Other Name. It is a lush, magical story behind Shakespeare's sonnets, as told by one of his most famous subjects, the incendiary and mysterious Dark Lady. So it's set in England in 1591. So it follows Rose, who has always been interested in magic and astrology, and it's just something she kind of had fun with and played around with. But her father dies, and then she is accused of witchcraft, and she's banished, and she ends up in London and somehow gets entrenched in the occult. And she has this thriving underground business where she's participating in astrology, and this leads her to meeting a young nobleman named Henry and William Shakespeare, and there's some kind of romance. So very different, very curious to see how that one ends up. I have not read the Book of Gothel, even though people have told me a million times I'm going to love it, so I should probably read that one first, but this one sounds really unique. July 23rd, we have a book from an author who I own books from. I know I'm going to love her stuff, but I've never read anything by her, and that is India Holton, and this is called The Orthologist Field Guide to Love. Rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com reminiscent of Indiana Jones, but with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols. What else do you need to know? That sounds incredible. I've been hearing good things about it, and I just have a feeling that she's going to be an author for me, so I should just go into that one. Just do it, finally. That one really is calling to me at the moment. Next we have Queen Bee by Juno Dawson. This is the 3rd book in their Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. I read book 1, really liked it, haven't continued. What else is new? I know that this one follows Anne Boleyn somehow. Yeah, it says the story of Anne Boleyn, Witch Coven. So I think that this is more of a prequel. You're learning how this coven came to be in the first place. I think I saw that this one is a bit on the shorter side. I actually just grabbed the audiobook of the 2nd book because it was on sale, so maybe I will just marathon the next 2. I don't think I need to reread the first one because it's so memorable, especially what happens at the end. So this is just a good reminder that I need to continue on with that series. Another romance from an author who I know I'm gonna love and people have recommended, and everybody in the Amazing Readathon seems to be reading from her right now, and that is Kathy Yardley, and her new book is called Do Me a Favor. This is about a widowed cookbook writer and a divorced handyman who find that it's never too late for a fresh start. And I think that this is what she does best, or what she's known for. She writes romances about older characters who are looking for love, or have maybe been widowed or divorced, and I really love that. I think we're getting a lot more of those lately. So it's just the two of them meeting, trying to fit into one another's lives, dealing with their pasts, but having this strong attraction to one another. And I think that that is really the kind of romance that I'm craving right now. So maybe I will read that one. I should read Role Playing first, because that is the book of hers that everybody absolutely adores, but this one sounds just as good. I have a feeling we're gonna get more and more Formula One romances, because that seems to be a huge thing right now. So here's one. It's called Cross the Line by Simone Soltani, and it says her brother's best friend sends her heart racing in this sparkling Formula One romance. So it's got your best friend's brother trope, which could be hit or miss for me, but I know a lot of people love. So Dev is our Formula One driver, but he's been getting some terrible press recently. He's been embarrassing himself. There are threats that he will lose his sponsorships. And our heroine is recently graduated. She's looking for a job, and she's really good about making the best out of a situation and spinning things so that it looks like in a more positive light. So he wants to hire her. The problem is she is his sister's best friend. They had a moment where they kissed in the past. She's always had a crush on him. They want to try and keep this professional because he's had enough scandals, and obviously that won't go as planned. So fun one, sounds really good. And finally, July 30th, this first book is one I've been dying for since I saw the cover and since I read this author's debut, and this is The Blondice First, and it's by Joelle Wellington, who wrote Their Vicious Games, which I thought was fantastic, and I cannot wait to see what else she does. It says that a group of friends fight to choose their own fates in this trope-savvy, self-referential young adult thriller about a demonic force that acts according to horror movie rules in the spirit of the Scream movies. So good. I am not a big horror movie watcher, but I did watch the Scream movies. Those were ones I could handle and I did enjoy, so that is fun. So this is that typical thing where you got a bunch of teenagers in the summertime playing with a Ouija board, and they summon something. And obviously it goes around killing people, and I love it. It's gonna be so much fun. I love that we get so many of these slashers in the summertime. I live for it, and I already know I love this author, and there's no denying that that covers everything. Two more. Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. I just loved this cover, and the tagline says, no phones, no feeds, no way out. Willow's worst nightmare was being canceled, but the shadows in the woods of Camp Castaway might destroy more than her reputation. So as I've been saying, camp, slasher, horror, thriller, summertime. I love it. This follows Willow, who's a sitcom star, and she makes the mistake of tweeting while drunk, and she gets herself into trouble, and her agent sends her to this adult summer camp, which I guess is full of people who want to run away from the mistakes of their past. Catch here is that there are no cell phones, so you cannot call for help if you need it. And one of the campers vanishes, and our main character finds a mutilated doll in her room with a threatening message, and it all just goes up in flames from there. So sounds like a good time to me. And then finally we have The Wedding People by Alison Espak, and apparently this is a propulsive and uncommonly wise novel about one unexpected wedding guest and the surprising people who help us start anew. So another wedding book. So this sounds like a very simple premise. Our main character Phoebe is at this resort, and everybody else there is there for a wedding, so people assume that's why she's there as well. But it is just always been a dream of hers to go here with her husband, but she is there alone, and she keeps running into the bride, and they keep confiding each other, and then they form some kind of friendship or relationship. I'm not sure where it goes, but that is a pretty simple synopsis, but I'm intrigued. And it says that it is a look at the winding paths we take to places we never imagined and the chance encounters it sometimes take to reroute us. So those are all the books on my radar for July. I know I missed some. Let me know which ones you are excited to read, what's on your radar, if you had arcs of these ones, if you pre-ordered any of these. Tell me all of the things. Thanks again for watching. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye for now.